You're about to send that message. Your thumb hovers over the keyboard. The words are already typed, but you don't press send. Your heart is racing. Your stomach feels tight. You feel humiliated, and you haven't even been rejected yet. But you know it's coming. Or at least, some ancient part of your brain believes it is. This feeling isn't new. It isn't a product of social media or modern dating apps or the performance-based economy that tells you your worth depends on likes and comments. This fear of rejection is millions of years old, and it's trying to keep you alive. Rejection is one of the most physically painful experiences your brain can process. Not metaphorically, literally. Neuroscientists have discovered that the same regions of your brain that activate when you experience physical pain, the anterior cingulate cortex and the anterior insula, light up when you experience social rejection. Your brain processes a romantic rejection almost identically to how it processes a burn or a broken bone. You're not being dramatic when you say that rejection hurts. Your neural tissue is experiencing something remarkably similar to physical pain. But why? Why would your brain treat a turned-down text message the same way it treats an actual injury? The answer is written into your evolutionary history. For most of human existence, rejection from your tribe wasn't just embarrassing, it was a death sentence. Evolutionary psychologist Kipling Williams at Purdue University has spent decades studying the psychology of rejection and ostracism. His research shows that throughout human history, social exclusion meant genuine survival threat. If you were cast out from your group, you were left alone in an environment where solitary humans don't survive. No protection from predators, no shared resources, no collective intelligence to solve problems. Rejection meant you would likely die. This wasn't a distant evolutionary possibility. This was the actual lived experience of your ancestors for hundreds of thousands of years. Any of your ancestors who felt casual about rejection, who could brush off social exclusion without significant emotional pain, would have been rejected, would have died, and would never have passed on their genes. But your ancestors who felt acute, visceral, all-consuming pain at the thought of rejection would have done whatever it took to stay in the group. They would have conformed. They would have helped. They would have been cooperative. They would have survived. So you inherited a fear of rejection that is perfectly calibrated for an environment that no longer exists. Your brain is still running the operating system designed for small hunter-gatherer bands where rejection literally meant death. But you're living in a world where rejection from one person or one group or one online community has almost no impact on your survival. Yet your nervous system doesn't know that. Your amygdala, the ancient alarm system in your brain, is triggered by rejection the same way it would be triggered by a predator. It doesn't distinguish between social rejection and physical threat. From your amygdala's perspective, they're the same thing. Both signal danger. Both mean you need to act immediately to restore your standing in the group or escape the situation. This is why rejection feels so visceral. This is why you can lie awake at 3 in the morning replaying a conversation from 2 years ago where someone responded coldly to something you said. This is why you scroll back through old text messages looking for the exact moment someone's tone shifted. This is why the thought of sending that message, making that call, or asking for that thing you want feels like standing on the edge of a cliff. Your brain has even developed specific strategies to protect you from rejection, and most of them work by preventing you from trying in the first place. This is called rejection-sensitive dysphoria by some researchers. Though the experience is so common, it might be better understood as just how human brains work. You avoid situations where rejection is possible. You don't audition for the role. You don't tell the person how you feel. You don't apply for the job. You don't share your work. You stay small and safe because the fear of rejection is so powerful that it overrides your desire for the thing you want. Psychologist Mark Leary has studied this phenomenon extensively and found that rejection sensitivity exists on a spectrum. Some people are exquisitely attuned to any sign of rejection, perceiving slights and criticism in neutral interactions. They scan conversations for evidence that they're being judged. They interpret a delayed text message as a sign they've done something wrong. They catastrophize small social awkwardness into imagined social death. Others have learned, through circumstances or personality, to tolerate rejection more easily. But almost all humans have some level of rejection sensitivity wired into their nervous system. Here's what makes this even more complex. Your brain doesn't just feel fear at actual rejection, it feels fear at the possibility of rejection. Often the possibility that exists only in your imagination. You're afraid to send the message because your brain is predicting rejection. But it's not predicting it based on evidence. It's predicting it based on a worst-case scenario narrative that your anxiety is constructing. And your brain can't distinguish between imagined rejection and real rejection when it comes to the pain response. This is partly why rejection becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're so afraid of rejection that you start exhibiting the very behaviors that lead to rejection. You become anxious around the person you're hoping will accept you. Your anxiety makes you come across as less confident, less appealing, less authentic, or you avoid the situation entirely and construct an elaborate story about why you were definitely going to be rejected anyway. Your brain protected you from the pain of rejection by preventing you from even trying, and it did this so subtly that you might genuinely believe it was your own decision. The terror of rejection also explains some of your other behaviors. It explains why you seek validation from others constantly, why you check how many likes your post got, why a critical comment stings more than 100 positive comments feel good. Your brain is still monitoring your social status the way your ancestors had to. They had to know, constantly, whether the group still accepted them. Status information was survival information. You inherited that same monitoring system. It also explains why rejection by a romantic partner feels different from rejection by a friend or a stranger. Your brain is extremely attuned to any signal that your reproductive partner might reject you or leave you. From an evolutionary perspective, losing a partner's commitment meant losing access to resources, protection, and genetic opportunity. So your brain has a special alarm system just for romantic rejection. It's why a breakup can feel like a survival-level threat even when you have every material need met. Some of your rejection sensitivity might also be cultural. If you grew up in a culture that emphasized shame, or if you grew up in a chaotic family where affection was conditional or unpredictable, your sensitivity to rejection might be even more acute. Your early experiences taught your brain that rejection was a real and constant possibility. You learned to scan for it, you learned to fear it, you learned to do whatever it takes to avoid it. But here's the thing about understanding this. Knowing that your fear of rejection is an ancient survival mechanism doesn't make it go away. You can't think your way out of an emotion that's generated by your sympathetic nervous system. You can't logic your way around an amygdala that's treating a text message like a predator. Understanding the origin of the fear is useful, but it's not curative. What does help is what psychologists call exposure and habituation. You have to voluntarily approach the thing you fear. Experience that the catastrophe you imagine doesn't happen, and allow your nervous system to gradually recalibrate. You send the message, and your worst fear doesn't materialize. You ask for the thing, and the answer is yes. Or the answer is no, but you don't actually die. You don't actually become less of a person. Your brain slowly learns that rejection is not a survival threat. This is why rejection, when you actually experience it, often feels less painful than the anticipation of rejection. You built it up in your mind into a catastrophe. The actual thing is just disappointing. It's sad, but it's survivable. And once you've survived one rejection, your nervous system has evidence that rejection is not actually fatal. The deepest irony is that your fear of rejection is preventing you from the very connection your brain evolved to seek. You're so afraid of being rejected by the tribe that you isolate yourself. You're so afraid of losing the romantic relationship that you hold back vulnerable honesty. You're so afraid of failure that you never attempt anything difficult or worthwhile. Your ancient survival mechanism is now your survival threat. The next time you feel that grip of fear around your chest at the thought of being rejected, remember this. That fear isn't a sign that you should play it safe. That fear is a sign that something matters to you. That fear is proof that you're human, that you're connected to millions of years of ancestors who felt the same thing, who survived it anyway, and who passed that feeling down to you. Your fear of rejection is evidence that you're alive.